Grey hair is one of the most misunderstood assets a man over 60 can have. Not a liability, not something to apologize for or disguise. An asset, one of the few physical characteristics that, when managed correctly, communicates authority, experience, and a kind of masculine confidence that younger men cannot manufacture, regardless of what they spend on grooming. But the operative phrase is managed correctly, because grey hair that is not managed correctly does the opposite of all of this. It reads as neglect, as a man who stopped paying attention, as someone who accepted a default rather than making a decision. Most men over 60 fall into one of two positions with their grey hair. The first position is active avoidance, dyeing it, covering it, or maintaining a haircut specifically designed to hide the grey rather than work with it. This approach is not wrong in principle, but it requires consistent and skilled execution that most men do not maintain. When the dye grows out unevenly, when the roots show a noticeably different tone from the colored length, when the hair starts to look like two different colors at once, the attempt to avoid looking older produces exactly the effect it was trying to prevent. The second position is passive acceptance, allowing the gray to do whatever it does without any deliberate management, maintenance, or styling. This approach is not wrong either, but passive acceptance and intentional ownership are not the same thing. A man who owns his grey hair has made choices about its length, its cut, its conditioning, and its relationship to the rest of his grooming. A man who passively accepts it simply has grey hair that grows without direction. This video is about moving from either of those positions to a third one, deliberate ownership. The specific mistakes most men over 60 make with grey hair, and exactly what to do instead. Not to look younger, to look sharper, more defined, and more like a man who is in control of how he presents himself. This channel is about classic menswear, timeless style, and the practical grooming decisions that help men over 60 look their best without chasing trends. Grey hair is not a trend. It is one of the most powerful grooming assets available to mature men, and most of them are leaving it completely unmanaged. The first mistake is the most common and the most visible, allowing grey hair to yellow. Grey hair yellows. This is not a matter of neglect or poor hygiene. It is a chemical process driven by environmental factors, including mineral deposits in water, UV exposure from sunlight, and the residual effects of certain shampoos. The yellowing accumulates gradually, which means most men do not notice it in real time. They see their hair every day, and the daily change is imperceptible. But from the outside, looking at someone they have not seen for a few months, other people notice immediately. Yellowed grey hair does not read as grey. It reads as dull, unwashed, and slightly unkempt, even when the hair is clean and cut reasonably well. It removes the silver quality that makes grey hair look strong and distinguished, and replaces it with a tired, brownish warmth that ages the face significantly. And it undercuts the overall impression of a man who takes care of himself, because it is the detail that is most visible and most associatively linked with lack of maintenance. The fix is simple and inexpensive. A purple or blue tone shampoo, sometimes sold as silver shampoo or toning shampoo, used once or twice a week, neutralizes the yellow tones in grey hair by depositing the complementary color on the hair shaft. The result, when used correctly, is a cooler, cleaner, more silver tone that reads as intentional rather than neglected. Most men need to leave the product on for 2 to 5 minutes rather than rinsing immediately. The contact time is what allows the toning to occur. Used consistently, this single habit transforms the quality of grey hair more than any other single grooming change. The second mistake is subtler but equally damaging. The wrong haircut for grey hair specifically. Grey hair behaves differently from darker hair. It is typically coarser in texture, drier in character, and more prone to fraying at the ends. It often grows more unevenly than darker hair did, and its natural tendency to catch light means that structural issues in a haircut are more visible. Thin patches, uneven density, and overgrown areas all register more clearly on grey hair than on darker shades. This means that a haircut that worked reasonably well when the hair was darker may no longer work at all once it has gone fully grey. The most common haircut mistake for grey hair is going too long. The instinct, often driven by the same logic as long hair on a thinning scalp, is that more length means more coverage, more fullness, more disguise of any unevenness in the growth. But long grey hair does the opposite of what is intended. It separates at the ends, losing whatever natural fullness the root growth provides. It often shows the scalp through the longer strands in ways that shorter hair would not. It frames the face more heavily and can make features that were already softening with age appear more obscured rather than more defined, and it requires a level of product and styling attention that most men are not applying, which means it usually falls into a shapeless mid-length that communicates nothing deliberate. There is also the specific problem of the comb-over on grey hair. A comb-over, hair grown longer on one side to cover a thinning area on the top, is a style that works poorly on any hair type and works worst on grey. The grey color maximizes the visibility of the scalp through any sparse coverage, and the longer hair that is combed across tends to shift in wind or under light in a way that defeats its own purpose. A man who commits to a comb-over with grey hair is doing the most visible possible thing to draw attention to the thinning area it was designed to disguise. The better direction for most men over 60 with grey hair is shorter, significantly shorter than instinct suggests. A short taper or a textured crop that keeps the hair close at the sides and maintains just enough length on top to add texture and direction without requiring heavy styling. At this length, grey hair reads as clean and intentional. The silver tone registers as a strong quality rather than a distraction, and the face and neckline are defined by the haircut rather than obscured by it. The third mistake is one that connects grooming decisions most men treat as separate, not coordinating the grey hair with the beard. Many men over 60 have both grey head hair and some degree of facial hair, a beard, a moustache, or some combination, and the relationship between the two is a grooming detail that most men have never consciously considered. The head hair and the facial hair frame the face together, and their tonal relationship creates a unified impression or a fragmented one. The most common version of this mistake is a mismatch between the managed and the unmanaged. A man who uses toning shampoo on his head hair and maintains a clean, deliberate haircut, but whose beard is left to grow unevenly with no attention to its density, length or neckline, creates a contrast between the considered and the careless that the face itself makes impossible to miss. The clean head and the unkempt beard do not read as a style choice, they read as incomplete attention. The reverse is equally common, a man who maintains his beard carefully trimmed, shaped, neckline defined, but whose head hair is overgrown, untoned and without direction. The beard's quality makes the hair's deficiency more visible rather than less. The principle is straightforward. The head hair and the facial hair should be managed at the same level of intentionality. If the head hair is toned and cut deliberately, the beard should be trimmed to a consistent length with a defined neckline. If the beard is worn short and shaped, the head hair should reflect the same level of attention. Neither has to be perfectly groomed in a formal sense, but both should show that the man thought about them. The fourth mistake is the one most connected to product use, or more accurately, the wrong product use. Grey hair is drier and more porous than darker hair, and it responds very differently to styling products. Heavy, oily products that may have worked on darker hair types tend to make grey hair look greasy and dull rather than styled. Alcohol-heavy sprays can strip the natural moisture that grey hair already lacks, making it appear frizzy and dry. And heavy wax-based products can give grey hair a flat, plasticky appearance that is immediately visible because of how much light the lighter hair reflects. There is also the specific issue of conditioner. Most men over 60 use shampoo but skip conditioner entirely, having never developed the habit. On darker hair, this is a minor omission. On grey hair, it is a significant one. Grey hair lacks the melanin pigment that previously provided some internal structure and moisture retention. Without regular conditioning, the hair shaft becomes increasingly porous, meaning it absorbs environmental moisture unevenly and loses moisture just as unevenly. The result is hair that appears frizzy in some conditions and flat in others, with an overall texture that reads as dry and unmanaged rather than clean and controlled. A simple leave-in conditioner or a small amount of hair oil applied to the ends after washing can dramatically change the texture and appearance of grey hair over time. The better approach for grey hair is a light hold cream, a matte clay, or a small amount of a moisture-rich styling product that adds just enough definition without weight or sheen. The goal is to guide the hair's natural direction, to enhance whatever texture and shape the haircut creates, rather than to force it into a shape it would not naturally hold. Grey hair styled naturally, with a product that works with its texture rather than against it, looks significantly better than grey hair that has been coerced into submission with the wrong product. Here is the practical summary. Tone the hair once or twice a week with a purple or blue shampoo to eliminate yellowing and maintain the silver quality. Choose a haircut that is shorter than instinct suggests, structure and definition over length and coverage. Coordinate the management of head hair and facial hair so both reflect the same level of deliberate attention. Use a light, matte, moisture-appropriate product rather than heavy or shiny alternatives, and condition regularly, a habit most men with grey hair skip, but one that makes a significant difference to the texture and manageability of the hair over time. These are not complicated instructions. None of them require a significant investment of time or money. The toning shampoo takes an extra 2 minutes in the shower, twice a week. The right haircut is a conversation with a barber who understands what grey hair specifically requires. The product switch is a single purchase. The conditioning habit is 30 seconds added to a routine that already exists. Grey hair managed this way is not a compromise. It is not settling for less because the hair changed. It is one of the strongest visual statements a man over 60 can make, a clear signal that he owns who he is today and has made deliberate choices about how to present himself. That is what intentional grey looks like. And the difference between intentional grey and neglected grey is visible immediately. So here is what I want to know. Have you found your grey hair working for you or against you? And which of these mistakes have you been making without realizing it? Let me know in the comments. I read every one. If you appreciate honest, practical grooming advice for men over 60, subscribe to the channel. In the next video, we are going into the grooming routine that makes the most difference to how a man over 60 looks every day, and why most men are missing at least 2 of the most important steps. You will not want to miss that one.